My writing started as a teacher, basically trying to get kids to read. The class I typically was given was 28 kids, of which 24 were boys. To get into my class, you either needed to have a severe learning disability, previously tossed furniture at a teacher, or had no ability to read or write or desire to read and write. Those are the kids I got. Now, when Orca originally started this series, I remember the conversations I had with Andrew and Bob, and I said, so you're going for reluctant readers, so who do you think your market is? And they said, well, we believe it's probably more boys than girls. And I said, well, reluctant reader, if you say reluctant male reader, that is almost redundant. Reluctant readers are probably 90% male. This is just plain fact. There are reluctant female readers, we don't want to forget them, but it's reluctant male readers are the predominance. The literature says males stop reading because they think reading is a female activity. That's why it's so important to get their fathers involved, get male teachers involved, then to see people who are male who are reading. They used to say before, well, as long as they read nonfiction, that's good enough. No, it isn't. Fiction is where you get emotional intelligence from. Is there anyone in this room who says, yes, men have so much emotional intelligence they need no more? You have to get them into fiction, but it's a type of fiction you get them to. For a reluctant reader, you basically got three components. You've got to get them something they like. You've got to get them something they can handle, something readable. And often their choice of books written by a good writer. I was in a chapter talking to a manager, and I'm hearing this salesperson over here, and this woman comes in and says, my son is 11, he's a reluctant reader. What would you recommend for him? She said, Sarah, Plain and Tall. Plain and Tall. And I excused myself and said, that is a fine book. And if you never want your son to read another book again. And this woman said, that was my favorite book as a child. And I said, were you a reluctant reader as a child? She said, no, I loved reading. I said, were you a boy as a child? Anne of Green Gables is a fine piece of Canadian classic literature, and if you give it to a boy, you will stop him reading. It's not enough to find the books that you like and give them to them. You've got your boys and you've got your girls, and how many have had this experience? You go to the library with the boys, and 3 minutes later they say, I need a new book. What do you mean? You just got a book. I don't like it. What do you mean you don't like it? Well, you start reading, it's no good. How far did you get? Page 2. Ask the girl, so how's that book? Well, it's not so good, Jeff, but I'm only on page 97. I'm assuming it's going to get better. I'm stereotyping, but I'm not as well. These are things that you see. For a boy book, if you can't get action in the first couple pages, and one of those gentlemen, Richard, if you can't grab them in the first page and a half, you're not going to grab them at all. If you want your kids to like books, if you want them to stop being reluctant readers, you better get them a book that they like. You give them choices, and choice is important, especially with males. Choice is important. Don't tell them to read this book. Say, read one of these books. And they're much more able to get into it than to give them one book. This whole series started as me writing for my class, and there's different books in the basketball series. I'm going to highlight just a couple things we're up to now with the last ones. Boot camp. We launched this in Hamilton, Ontario. To come to the book launch, you had to be a very, very, very special person. You had to be a boy. We did not let girls in the building. Here's what we did. 248 boys showed up, 248 mentors, because they had to bring a male role model. They couldn't come unless they brought a male role model. Father, uncle, teacher, brother, someone. 248 boys, 248 mentors. Each boy got a free copy of that book. They got to meet NBA player Jerome Williams. They played basketball for 45 minutes under the direction of a university coach. They played soccer for 45 minutes with a professional soccer player. They got 45 minutes of video games. They got all the juice they could drink and all the pizza they could eat. The reason we did this, the literature now shows the single biggest determining factor in a boy becoming a reader is having a reading male role model. Could be a teacher, could be a teacher librarian, should be their father. What I say to teachers is the next time you have a parent-teacher interview night, if the father ever says to you, I don't know why my son doesn't like to read, you need to look that man square in the eyes and ask him one simple question. What are you reading, sir? Tell him if he wants his son to succeed, he'll start reading with him, to him, and around him. And from that day on in the morning when he shaves and looks in the mirror, The man now has two choices. One, he can be the man most responsible for his son becoming a success in life, or two, he can be the man on the entire planet standing most in his son's way. The newest book in this series is called Home Team. This book is not available till May, unless you're in one of 61 schools in the Toronto District School Board. Starting the first week in January, 2 chapters of this book were released online to these 61 boys' reading clubs. Every week for 12 weeks they get 2 more chapters. Every Friday I get 70, 80, 90, 150 emails from these kids telling me what they liked, what they didn't like, how they want to change, what they want me to do differently. And I rewrite the book based on what they're telling me. This has never been done before. I used to do this with my class when I had one class, but we have kids across the board. This also fits within the literature, how you get boys involved with reading. You make them an active participant in the process. Einstein said the universe isn't made of atoms, it's made of stories. If you can give people a story that they want, they'll read it. They're going to become less reluctant. If they can read it at a level that makes sense to them, they're going to read it. If they don't feel insulted by it, they're going to read it.